So what do we do with Gen AI infatuation? And I don't know how many of you have users or patrons who just think that who needs a library anymore because we've got Gen AI. I actually have a client, bless their little heart, who often calls me up and says, I need some research done in this area. I've already run it through ChatGPT and I'm sending you the results so that that'll help you get started. And she knows how to do prompts that, generate a nice table with columns and rows and labels on the top. So it looks really great. Of course, the information that's in it is garbage. And every time that she does that, I spend time at the beginning of the research, which I charge her for, and I double check all the things that are in that, piece of garbage that she sent me. And sure enough, it's all wrong. And so I will always send her back saying, thank you for this. Um, it's, as it turns out, that's not reliable information, but I will do some research and actually identify some good answers to your question, blah, blah, blah. I've tried this with her 5 or 6 times. I've sent her articles about how LLMs work to explain that it's not looking for truth. It's just looking for what's plausible. And it's like going in one ear and out the other. It's like telling your friend that their hot new love interest is actually a disaster. You can say it as many times as you want in as many different ways as you want, and they're still going to think that that person is the cutest thing ever. So, how do we deal with that kind of sort of unreasoning infatuation, besides just throwing cold water on them? What I've found works the best is to know, and I mean, nothing's guaranteed. I still have this client ask me this, says this, does the same stupid things every time with the chat GPT. So there are some people that are just not trainable. So given that, what I think works for the ones that are trainable is to be familiar enough with AI tools that you can have a conversation. And so this what I put here in the italics is an actual conversation I've had with another client who tried the, can't you just chat GPT the answer for me? And so I started talking about, well, here's one that I use for this, and here's another one that I use for that. But neither of them are all that good for this. So it's having enough familiarity with enough different tools that you can have an intelligent conversation so that when they're, all goo-goo-eyed about whatever they've found that they think is the best thing in the world, you can say, oh, I'll check that out. Have you also considered perplexity.ai for a question like this, for example? So it's just like knowing how to respond by showing that you know what you're talking about as well. What I think really helps is always having an example in your virtual back pocket that shows them that you know your stuff. I mean, you don't have to know a lot more than they do. You just need to know this much more. So here's a great example. I've been using this for the last couple of months just because I just discovered it. Most of my clients haven't seen it yet. And so they all think that I'm bleeding edge. And that's what you want, is just to appear a little bit more bleeding edge than they are. So here's an example. Perplexity.ai has this interesting focus feature where instead of searching across the entire web, it focuses on a particular kind of content by academic content, video content, social content, if that's what you're looking for. So if someone is all infatuated about Gen AI and says, oh my gosh, blah, 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 then I'll say, yeah, sometimes it's really useful. Here's something I just discovered in Perplexity. Have you seen this? So I'll mention this. It's a nice little example here. These two screenshots, the one on the left was using the web focus in perplexity.ai, and the one on the right is using the academic focus. And while the answer is the same, the sources are different. The ones on the left that were the web are things like something from PubMed, it looks like Frontiers in Science, something from Forbes. The one on the right is from Semantic Scholar, and God knows where else the other things were. So the point here is that it's something that's nice that you can show to an infatuated Gen AI person to get them thinking about more than just the one that they're looking at, and also to give you some authority when you're talking about this, that here are some other ways of looking at it.